Hey everybody and welcome. In today's video I will go through showcasing what you can actually do in 2023 with an Apple iMac G3 from 2001, which basically means more than 2 decades later. So here you can see the list of the things that I would like to touch during the video. First, a little bit of a history about the project and the research and development efforts that I've made in order to reach this status. We will go through the desktop experience, having also an overview of the main apps that are installed so far. We will surf the modern web actually with updated browser, watch some basic videos and also playing some 2D games. First, let's go through the special custom specs of this machine here. As you can probably recognize by the external plastic case, this is the special edition of the iMac G3. It was called the Flower Power, celebrating USA West Coast hippie culture from the 70s. This very machine has been fully maxed out when it comes to the hardware, so let's go through a little bit on the spec side. The original CPU for this edition was a 500 MHz G3CX processor, which has been upgraded to the 700 MHz G3CXE processor, which was basically the fastest one you can get for these machines. The RAM has been upgraded to a nice 1 GB running at full bus speed, which for these machines mean 100 MHz. The GPU is the ArcticFox 128 Pro, and this Mac came with the one with 8 MB of video RAM, while with the new motherboard I've put it in, it has now the ArcticFox still 128 Pro with 16 MB of video RAM, so basically the amount of video RAM has been doubled. The original slow-speed mechanical hard drive has also been replaced with a much faster SSD HD from Samsung with 128 GB of solid-state memory. And of course, as you can see, the case has been cleaned up and the internal plastic restored to the original white, and yeah, the speakers have been replaced and so on and so forth. On the software side, of course, the iMac G3 supports the official operative systems from Apple, both the macOS 9, but also the macOS 6, up to the 10.4.11 macOS 6 Tiger edition. However, for today's video, I'm going to run the iMac G3 on Linux. This is a custom build based on 12.04 Ubuntu Linux, and is a project I'm working on since some months. I will call it Antarctica, and that's basically a nice Ubuntu, we can say, since it is using the IceWM as its desktop environment, or better, it's Windows Manager. I've tried several Linux distros, and when I say several, I do mean so. From Debian 7, 8, Ubuntu spins and respins, 12, 14, 16, to the modern one like Adeli Linux, Void Linux, modern BSD Unix derivatives, and so on. So when it comes to the different criteria for the selection of the operative system, of course I wanted an operative system that can still work on PowerPC 32 bits, and there are not so many, and of course recognize the hardware out of the box, at least most of it. It shall have fast and snappy experience with a good looking environment. GPU acceleration must be enabled, and also the capability to surf the internet with an updated and secure browser. Ability to watch videos and run some basic open source 2D games. Among the others, the GPU acceleration criteria basically got rid of most of the modern operative system as Adele Linux, Void Linux, and the modern BSD Unix derivatives. There are videos on YouTube of people installing those operative system on this generation of Mac, but all of them lack the graphic acceleration. So I ended up exploring different Ubuntu and Debian respins, and the one that worked the best, let's say, on it was the Ubuntu Remix 12 spin from Wicknix, a user at the Mac Rumors forum on the PowerPC section. The work from Wicknix is an amazing work, and is still used nowadays by many Mac users. However, Ubuntu Remix spins from Wicknix, in my opinion, are mainly suitable for G4 or G5 Macs. So some time ago, actually, I tried installing the live CD, and it didn't work out of the box. And after a lot of research and failures and attempts, I managed to boot the live image and install it with some tricks. And I posted my findings on the Mac Rumor forum, and actually Wicknix promptly added the suggestion on the first page of its thread, so you can find my snippet in order to boot and actually install the Ubuntu Live ISO. But nevertheless, the system was slow, no graphic acceleration, sloppy. Most of the apps were failing to start. Most of them require AltiVec extension, which is basically a technology not available on the G3 processors. And that's where the project actually started. So in order to reach the level of performances that you will spot here, a lot of efforts have been needed, with specific configuration to be found and tested, recompilation of various packages, the downgrading of the complete Mesa graphics set, file system tuning, and so on and so forth. So let's start with a review of the desktop experience. First of all, let's have a look at the resources usages when it comes to the CPU and the total amount of RAM memory. So let's open the task manager. As you can see, the operative system after the boot is using 72 megabytes of RAM over the total of 1 gigabyte, so basically less than 10% of the total amount, which is pretty amazing. And the CPU usage is between 1 and 2%, which is quite a good job considering this is a reduced instruction set processor, a RISC processor from more than 20 years ago. So pretty good. And of course, I can do better when it comes to the memory consumption. There are still room for improvements. So let's close it. So as you can see, the desktop looks nice and fresh. I was saying before, this is running ISWAM, Windows Manager, that usually does not look so nice. So what I've done, I've created 2 complete new themes, which I called Glacier Dark for the ISWAM window decorations, and Glacier Light for the standard GTK2 theme. Just to show you up, that's the file manager. As you can see, this is the Windows decoration, so the ISWM theme, and this is a little bit of the GTK2 theme for the window. The window bar is taller and easier to handle, and with some reminders to the macOS window frame, with animated button on the left corner. And as you can see, the windows are pretty snappy to open, and they show no lag or wobbly behavior when moving. So let's explore a little bit the menu and the different apps that have been installed. Yep. So first of all, about this Mac, it shows up the complete set of information, like the operative system, and the different information like processor speed, memory, and so on. And also you can run some benchmark. The usual set of accessories, so calculator, the file manager, leaf pad, which is basically just a notepad, and the task manager itself, the terminal. Let's see what we have here. Yes, as you can see, the different themes from the Windows Manager, the themes from the GTK2, the icon set. The file manager is the PCman FM. As you can see, it open up quite quickly. No issue when moving the window around. It's pretty snappy, so you can navigate quite quickly. Not even on macOS X it was so quick to navigate. Yeah, very snappy. Also, I can still optimize it since it's running with an icon set that is the Papyrus Lite, which is a light icon set, but it can be improved a lot. And then we have games with Super Tux 2D platformer, and Battle for Wesnot, which is a strategic RPG game, quite interesting. GIMP as a graphic set, and then we have ArcticFox for the browser version 40 from Riccardo Mottola. And Genie, there is still a LibreOffice. I didn't just configure it out. And then we have VLC as the media player and the usual set of system app. So let's switch off the light in order to review the video playback capabilities with this gorgeous cathodic ray tube monitor, CRT screen. So let's open some videos. I've downloaded some trailers from YouTube, some vintage Top Gun, but also some modernish Mandalorian trailer. So let's open up this with VLC, and let's open it up in full screen. As you can hear, the sound is quite great on the iMac G3. The video is crispy and no frame drop. It plays perfect basically. the blacks are very intense on the seared, I have to say.
Is a complicated profession.
That's pretty cool.
Don't you agree?
Let's close it. Yeah, and just to check again we'll see. This is what I've basically compiled is the version 2.0.9 without ArcticFox that can run on the G3 processor. Very good. So let's have a look now at the web browsing capabilities using ArcticFox as a main updated browser for today. The version of ArcticFox is the just released 40.0 in fall 2022. ArcticFox is based on, of course, on the Firefox, and it has been maintained mainly by one person, Riccardo Mottola, who is an Italian developer, actually living quite close where I live here. He has done a fantastic job with ArcticFox and is one of the few browsers still actively developed for PowerPC. So let's have a look. This is the icon for ArcticFox. Usually in macOS X we use 10.4 Fox, which takes a lot in order to load. Instead, on Linux, ArcticFox is opening up, as you can see, quite quickly compared to 10.4 Fox. Definitely quicker. So let's have a look at the performances. I will try a different website, from simplest and lighter one to much more, let's say, heavy ones. So let's try Macintosh Garden, something that most of you maybe let's say be familiar with. And of course, Macintosh Garden, it's quite light, and as you can see, it opened up very smoothly. And also the scrolling, it's buttery smooth, I have to say. Very good. Yeah. And it loads everything quite fastly. Let's try something a little bit more complex with an image. Phoronix is the site that I usually have a look for hardware review on Linux. And as you can see, it's quite fast as well. It's very smooth as well, as you can see in the scrolling. Wow, it loads very quick. It's open source chatting driver experience. Well, this is quite interesting for us. And as you can see, I mean, that's an amazing experience. I think Riccardo has done a very good job here. And it's complete with all the picture and links. Now, well, let's try something a little bit more heavy, like this is one of my preferred games for Linux, and usually it has quite a huge banner, like all games. But as you can see, it's very fast on loading website with all the images and so on. So quite good. Let's have a look at some maybe some news. I'm looking forward to version 1.18 of Battle for Westnut. Let's see if there is any news on this. It's actually not news. It's a complete forum that has been loaded. That's quite good, and as you can see, it scrolls up quite smoothly as well. So the forum. Let's open it up. Oh, that's very nice. I have to say, navigation. It's awesome considering this is a G3 processor. Very, very good. Very, very good. So while we are talking about forms, let's see if I can load something much heavier, like our beloved PowerPC Mac section of Mac Rumors forum. That's much heavier with the many news. But actually, oh, it has loaded it very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Yeah, and as you can see, it has to load all the icons from the different users. But once it's loaded, yeah, it scrolls down and up very, very, very quickly. As you can see, some more news on Adeli Linux. Drumcatcher is another very good user. I actually used one of his script in order to watch YouTube, let's say, videos on the Mac OS X partition of this iMac. Very good guy. Yeah, and as you can see, Wicknix is still quite active. Very good. I pretty much recommend sneaking around a little bit on this forum. G3, that's new. G3, 400 megahertz. Let's see what this is about. It's kind of interesting. Since the navigation is quite good, you can start, exploring the web actually with it. So let's see what this user has. Need a compatible keyboard and mouse. Let's see it's one of the oldest, I would say. I need a compatible keyboard and mouse, but well, actually, you can use whatever you want. For example, you can use this 2022 pop design keyboard from Logitech. It works perfectly as long as it has this the wireless receiver. So even if you buy the latest Logitech device that use this Logbolt receiver or something like that, it works out of the box. Pretty fantastic. Both the mouse and the keyboard with one single USB dongle, so you don't need to use both the USB perfectly working. Now let's try something heavier than that. Oh my god, Ubuntu. These are all the sites that usually I sneak around. Whoa, and as you can see, it has some lag, but then after it loads in one shot, and this is quite fast, and it has lots of very large pictures. Wow. Usually go on maybe Wikipedia, and we can search. Let's search the iMac page. Have a look at the performance of Google search. Well, it is DuckDuckGo, but it's basically a derivative of the standard Google search. And as you can see, it's already done. It's quite quick. what to say. Let's scroll down. Perfect. That's perfect. So let's open it up. The Mac G3 Wikipedia page. Very good. And as usual, takes a few seconds to render, but then after it renders, it appears the complete page in one shot. And it scrolls pretty well. Nice to review the iMac G3 edition. This is the oldest one. The tray loading. While we are here with the slot loading. Hey, here it is, the flower power. And as you can see, it usually comes with the 500 MHz, but I've upgraded using one of the main board from the very latest editions. Let's open it up. That's one of the heaviest page that I know, because it's a site that contains other frames from other sites and has tons of different news submenus, and as you can see, once it loads in a shot, in a single shot. It's very good. Well, still considering the time of this machine. And usually what I do, I wait a little bit that it loads everything, especially on this very heavy site, and then I start exploring. But I can see that, for example, here you have Facebook integration, Twitter integration, YouTube, Instagram integration, lots of different news menus here. And let's scroll it down just to see. These are not small images. These are a full high resolution images, cropped in order to fit. And as you can see, there are many news with lateral menus and sub-menus with galleries, videos. And look how many news there are on the same page. I don't really like the user experience and UI from this portal. And as you can see, still lots of menus and sub-menus, events page, and look how many news there are here that it has to be loaded. Still other news here. And here you can see there are even Game Mag, which is basically another website. So basically it's a frame with a website in this portal, and Photography Digital is photography related news. Another frame for another website on the same website. So that's quite heavy, but as you can see, it scrolls up and down quite smoothly. Yeah, and all of this stuff have their own, let's say, sub-menus, and so it's quite an heavy website. Yeah, and as you can see, it's very crowded here when it comes to the different layouts. That's the modern web, as we say nowadays. Oh. So very good performances here. Quite impressed. And kudos to Riccardo Mottola, who is actually developing it. Yeah. So just to understand why it's astonishing, it's quite rare to find a machine from more than 20 years ago able to connect to the modern web. It's even much rarer if you think this actually is allowing you to surf the modern internet in a kind of smoothy way. Let's play now some games. I've pre-installed here a few games, typical 2D platformer, Super Tux, which is like Super Mario but with the Tux mascot. And then Battle for Westnut, which is an RPG strategy game. Let's a little bit more complex than Super Tux, so let's open it up. It's still actively developed, probably with a much more recent version, but here I've managed to have the 1.10.2 version, which is quite old, but basically the gameplay it's pretty similar. Let's see if in the future I manage to compile the 1.12 version. So let's load some campaign here. Yeah, but as you can see, we are here. It's pretty playable. Yeah, we have different players. An hexagonal map, and here we have our enemy, Orcish warrior. Yeah, so let's start recruit people. Let's end the turn. Now the enemy is recruiting different monsters, let's say. So let's see. As you can see, the movements are fluid. Yep. Let's move our troops. So let's wrap up now the review with the next step that you can see here for the project. There are still some activities that I need to complete. As we were saying before, a new lighter icon set with nice Ubuntu Antarctica palette. I would like also to explore YouTube playback video capabilities. There are some plugins we can probably install in ArcticFox in order to enable this. Upgrade some of the apps and games that you can download, let's say, still from some repository. Try to install new login manager, lighter than LightDM. Still some additional tuning and customizations that may be needed to further squeeze some juice from this machine. There is also more updated kernel that can be installed from the 3.x series from, I think, 2019, which is quite good. And then, of course, tried also to create a distro ISO file. Let's see what I will be able to do here. No promises here, but let's see. And maybe also, if I have time, a website for the ISO download and the app store, let's say. So that's all for today's video. Hope you have found the review interesting. And of course, if you have any questions or anything you would like to add, please share it here or on the Mac Rumor forum. Thank you.